Welcome to the Newbcast Podcast for the 29th of July, 2018. My name is Miss Michelle Jean, joined by, I guess a crew that's trying to say that we just have to deal with it. Wow.
Oh, we got a bunch of Matrix cosplayers.
I gotta unpop the collar. It's just too much.
I don't have enough pills nearby.
You don't have a collar to pop, dude.
We needed sunglasses. I have a pair, but they're in the van somewhere.
Yeah, mine are in my car too. Guys, welcome to the Newbcast Podcast, a gaming podcast where we're not professionals. We don't pretend to be, or do we? Again, my name is Mr. Jean. I have been joined by my co-host Dizzy. Dizzy, welcome.
Hello.
How goes the past 2 weeks, sir?
The past 2 weeks have been pretty wild. I had a trip part of the way across the country for a week, which kept me from doing a lot of gaming. It was sad.
Partway around
I had
the
my
country.
Switch with me. Yeah, a very small part.
I was gonna say partway around the country would put you here, and if you were here and didn't say anything, there would be words.
Consequences. There would be consequences.
Damn right.
No. I went to DC. And told my legislators that video games are awesome. That's not what I did, but I should have.
Should have.
I did walk past the Smithsonian, which I probably should have gone into, especially because they had this wonderful gallery about Julia
with all
Child.
of these probablys.
Probably.
Where did you go, sir?
With confidence, I did go to DC. With confidence, I did not see Julia Child's gallery, and I should have, because I watch way too much Food Channel on Twitch, and Julia Child is amazing and has the best sense of shade I have ever seen in a person in a cooking show.
Which really says something, I feel like.
Oh, yes.
I truly do. Well, despite the lack of gaming, I suppose I can still welcome you here anyways. So welcome to the show. And returning, we have two people who were here previously. We have we'll go with the Unabridged gamer, since he's the one waving. How goes?
Oh, my life is really fun right now. But gaming has actually been, it's like, I'm not going to talk about my life because it's just a lot of stress. But thankfully, gaming's been going pretty well. I wrapped up a recent role-playing campaign successfully. And besides that, I've just been trying different things. Plus, I've had to explore some odd stuff for the one website I work for. Like, I'm doing a retrospective on how Sony released a trilogy of mobile phone games that, like, no one remembers, but were actually decent. They brought SOCOM, God of War, and Ratchet & Clank to a flip phone. And in the former two cases, they actually did a really good job. Like, God of War Betrayal is genuinely fun, and SOCOM Recon it's odd. It's a point-and-click strategy game, but with sniping, from Sniper Elite, but it's all done with an isometric perspective like the old-school Syndicate games. And this is all being done for a flip phone. And yet it all plays well. It had stealth takedowns and shadows years before you would actually see that in most mainstream action games. It's so bizarre. Plus, because of the camera perspective, the game design and level design are different. They tease stuff above you that's out of reach and things like that. It's this weird slice of, wait, this happened? And I found out that apparently Ubisoft did this with all of their games. Everything up until Assassin's Creed 3 got a direct port to mobile. The story and everything.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they're all done as these 2D games, and most of the time they're done as 2D platformers. But yeah, Assassin's Creed 3, I mean, I tried it out. They even got sound effects working, which was a rarity. That's a serious technical feat of optimization for those things.
And on a flip phone, no less. I'm picturing my old Nokia, where I was very happy just to go ahead and build the longest snake I could.
Oh yeah, there's the Gameloft was doing tons of crazy stuff. I'm still amazed by...
Oh, that's why. Yep, I remember Gameloft.
I actually know somebody who worked at Gameloft.
Yeah?
Yeah. He was an artist.
Nice.
Probably making some of those. I bet you there's some connection there.
Oh, I would have questions. I would have so many questions. Cause just how did they do it? I mean, like, it's as if a whole generation of games were made for the SNES, but were only available on the Zune sort of situation. I don't know how this happened, other than there was apparently enough demand. So it's been a very interesting exercise just researching this and actually trying them out.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy that they did that.
Agreed. Absolutely agree. Since you know people that work there and such, I think it's a great segue to welcome back to the show, Hipponanymous.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, he's just an artist, so I don't know how much he played in that. He was a UI artist, so
Important job that nobody.
Very.
Could have made some menus.
I have opinions on UIs. I have opinions. That's all I have to say.
Opinions are generally good. That's probably a good way to go.
Strong opinions, okay? I have strong opinions.
I really want to see you rage out at a new game because you get sick of the menus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it in you to get angry about anything, so specifically to do so about menus.
Yeah, because there's no FOV sliders. Specifically, look, you gotta have that. We know this.
FOV, UI, these are a very big thing, especially with console ports from any console to PC, and they just don't do anything. They're like, you know what? You have to go through 5 different things to get to the option that you want to do. It's like, you're literally wasting my time. It feels like so,
yeah.
Like I said, I have opinions.
It sounds like it.
That's why we're here.
Right. What about opinions on what you've been playing? What have you been? What's been on that plate, Hippo?
Well, I've played especially since I've been on. It's been like what, a month and a half or 2, something like that.
About a month and a half.
I've
Yeah.
played a lot of games, but the standout recently have been Guild Wars with you.
Yep.
Let's see what else. I just tried Conan Exiles from the Humble Bundle Pack. Pretty sweet.
Okay.
I've played maybe like 2 hours.
Isn't that
the UI surprisingly is not too bad.
Isn't that the Dong Simulator? I seem to recall.
It is the Dong Simulator. However, I just played single player because I just wanted to test it out, and I couldn't change the nudity options, so there was no dongs. Unfortunately, I'm very sad. There was no dongs.
Okay.
When you said you were playing single player, I'm like, are you trying to keep the dongs to yourself?
I tried, but it wouldn't let me. I wanted the dongs to myself, but it wouldn't let me. These are things that I never thought I would be saying, by the way. So congratulations on getting me to say those things. I played Enter the Gungeon. Do you guys like that game? It is fantastic. It is a fantastic game. I've sunk quite a few hours into that game. Very, very fun. It's a bullet hell if you guys don't know.
Bullet hell with a wide variety of options and roguelike as well. Yes. So it changes up enough during all of your playthroughs that you really, it feels different every time you come in, which is wonderful.
Okay. And then the No Man's Sky update. I didn't want to talk about it until you guys were ready, and I refuse to give my opinions until Dizza G speaks on it. Because Dizza played less than I did. I've sunk 31 hours into the game. I have many opinions, not all of which are bad, however. But Dizza,
all of them.
I'm really excited to see what you say because you've played a lot of exploration building games, like My Time at Portia.
I love that game.
And I've done a lot of the 2D stuff. Like I think everybody and their mother has played Minecraft at one point. But I found a lot of my joy in playing Terraria and Starbound.
Yes.
Terraria is great too. Oh, Starbound. Love that game.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
so I go into No Man's Sky thinking, okay, they had this giant update. They finally added multiplayer and fulfilled their promise that they had how many years ago. I will give this a shot. And it also helps that it's, half the cost that it was when it first launched. So
yeah, it was 50% off.
Easy pick. So far I've gone through the tutorial and escaped my first planet and gone into a second section.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say I like the flexibility of, like, if I wanted to, I could have just sat on that planet for another 14,000 hours and done my own thing there. Yep. But I'm the sort of person in any of those games, and this is one of the reasons why Starbound was so appealing for me, who likes having clear objectives to go through and then kind of taking that time if I want to explore and do something else just for funsies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have enough of a perspective to say in conclusion where it's going to be. I don't have the feeling that it's any more multiplayer than it was before, and I get that it's a vast universe. I haven't really tested out that part. So far, I'm not.
Audio?
Really breaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I wanted to say real quick, I need to link you to my friend Nelson's experience because he and a colleague of his, they did the multiplayer. They ended up in a straight up aliens movie sort of scenario. It was supposed to be a dead planet and they were harvesting and then they found this collection of eggs. And the friend dares Nelson to, try and open one of them. And they just were chased across the entire planet. It was like something with xenomorphs or Pitch Black.
See, those sorts of experiences sound wonderful. Right now, it feels very, very slow, methodical. Okay, I'm slowly losing my radiation armor, whatever. I'll go update this. And it does feel like a series of updates. I think that's going to bother me very quickly as I'm playing it long run. But for now, I'm pleasantly tolerating it. I kind of just want to sit in my ship all the time now because I don't have to worry about any of that while I'm in it. But yeah,
you have your yellow submarine.
So far, so good. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how I feel after this gets absolutely annihilated, like I think it's going to.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
You're not going to ruin my life.
No. Okay, so before I rip into the game, let me just say that I think that the game it has enjoyability. Like, there are things in which you can really enjoy in that game. You can spend time playing it and be like, hey, you know what? I played this game. I bought this game. I got my money's worth. I think that you could do that pretty easily. However, and this is a big however, it is marred with bugs. Significant game-breaking bugs at some point. I mean, I played with Steph. For almost all the 31 hours that I've played was with Steph. She bought a frigate, which is like one of the big update things. She bought a frigate, and it disappeared. And she can't get it back. It didn't blow up or whatever. She tries to warp it in. It's just bugged. It's gone. She dropped like 7 million units on it, which is like the in-game currency, whatever. Which is not like too difficult to get, but it's also like when you're just starting out, that's a significant portion, if not all of your money. And she got it. She's like, I'm gonna make it go do missions. She made it do 2 missions, and then it's just gone. Like, she can't buy a new one. She can't do anything other than start a new save file, basically.
She can't even buy a new one.
Ooh.
Nope. So here's this feature that they've been pushing for this new update, and she can't even use it after she dropped all of her money,
Yeah.
So that like, it's just little things and big things. I feel that the game is an exploration game, right? It is meant for you to go exploring.
Yep.
However, it punishes you for doing just that. And the way that I mean this is that if you played the game, that you know that if you land, you have a takeoff fuel tank. So you need fuel to just get off the ground. And with the default, it's something like you can do 4 to 6 takeoffs or something like that on a full tank. And that sounds like sort of a lot, right? But if you're hopping in your ship to go 500 meters or Ks, whatever the hell Ks are,
Kilometers.
It's just km, but it's just Ks. I don't know. It's frustrating because you go, that like 500 units, and then you land, and then you go around and explore, and then it's the thing is, it's not the requirements to create the fuel. It's not that it's a difficult thing to get. It's just tedious. It's filler. There's like, you need to create a plate, and then you need some extra materials, and then you can create fuel. And it's just frustrating that it's like, this is something that I've been harping on actually about the game, is that it is an exploration game, but it does punish you to explore. And I don't know, maybe I'm still like kind of on the border of like, is this really a mechanic, or is it just filler?
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah, of course.
Is there a chance though that there's actually an intention for it to be a pain in the ass? Because that's something that could potentially be the case. Because when you're actually exploring, there's a lot of stuff that's difficult. There are people who there are hardcore mods for Minecraft that basically make your life hell. They just make everything more difficult and tedious. Making Minecraft.
I totally understand that. I get that.
So I kind of wonder if that might be what they were going for.
Maybe
they might have been. There is an efficient launch engine upgrade that you can get. I don't know how good it is. I've never run into the blueprints for it, so I've seen it on ships that I thought about buying, but they were just kind of garbage ships, so I never bought them. But there are upgrades and stuff that you can do to minimize the tedious things that make you want to pull your hair out. I mean, there's performance issues that happen where you're running at 60 FPS, very nice, and then all of a sudden you turn like 180 degrees and you're boom below 25. You're like, wait, what?
That's not good
This
at
doesn't
all.
happen all the time. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. It happens on certain planets in certain areas.
That's still a concern though.
An optimization.
Oh
issue.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, there's okay. So my problem with No Man's Sky is that you see what they were trying to go for. You see this great vision of an amazing game, but it just doesn't execute properly. It's like very frustrating because you see what they were trying to do, but they couldn't do it. And you're like, I want what you wanted. I wanted that too. I'm right there with you, but you just couldn't execute. You know, like it's like almost there. It's almost there, but not quite. And so that, I think that's the frustration for me, where it comes from, is like, here's this game which could be a very good game, but it's just, there's bugs everywhere. There's stupid little things that over time really wear on you. Like, like I'm saying, just the landing fuel alone is just annoying. It's annoying. After hours and hours and hours, it's like, I get it, your ship needs fuel, but you can only take off a few times, and sometimes you land in a place where none of those resources are at. So now you're like, well, I guess I gotta walk to go find these resources. It's frustrating. Like I said, because I want to like the game so much, I wanted to. I never played before the release. I stayed away from it because I knew that there was some weird stuff going on. And so I just waited, and I was like, oh, I'm so freaking happy that I did not buy the game. So when it came out, I just stayed away. And then this new update, the next update, everyone's like, it's a different game. It's amazing. It fixes the game. And I'm like, okay. So I bought it. And even though it was like $30, it's still like if it's like this now with the update, I mean, there's legitimately ships, like spaceships that you dock into a starport, and ships just go through. They just go through the wall. Like, it's little things like that. Or Steph and I were playing, and she bought a new ship, and I landed, and my ship landed on top of her old ship, and then I couldn't get in my ship, and then I ran into the ship, and then her ship floated away through the starport wall. Like, they're like little things. It's not a game-breaking bug, but it definitely feels like an early access game.
Yeah, and that's kind of the nature of these games now, is that we keep getting games where they don't seem to be entirely clear about how they're releasing. A lot of games now, sometimes they have to change substantially. I mean, Battlefront 2017, it's a completely different game in terms of progression and a lot of other things. But as a result, they sacrificed some features, and now they're trying to stretch out what was supposed to be a month update over a course of a year. But they're also have fixed a lot of issues and put in a lot of what people wanted. And but I do hear you about glitches, and they're still being in there, because Home for the Revolution, they fixed a lot. They didn't fix it all, and it still is another one of those situations where you can see what they were going for, but it's just not all the way there. The only thing I would really say with No Man's Sky that makes me a little bit more forgiving, even though I agree that you shouldn't be getting that in a $30 game, is that it's still
it's 60, but
a very small
50.
team. It's still a very small team. I think it's horrible that they got released for $60. I think that was one of the worst things they could have done, was release for $60. That's not what the game was going for. It should have started at 30.
Yeah, they set an expectation with it, is the problem. That pricing sets an expectation.
Sure.
I definitely
and of
agree.
course, all of the hype of all of the different people who were speaking about No Man's Sky in E3 and all of the other major shows. Because of that high expectation, we anticipated a polished piece. And yeah, I mean, at the very beginning, we got absolute garbage out of it, which is extremely unfortunate. And they're trying to reboot from it with this. At the point where, like, 2 years later, you're still saying, hey, there are these glitches here that we're not changing. We haven't changed for 2 years. You've decided that those aren't important. You've decided that it's more important to try to get people interested in your game again, versus making sure that what that game is solid. So you're causing the same error.
I mean, there are early access games currently that run better, that have less glitches. It's frustrating, like I said, just because I really want to like the game, but I just can't do it. Like, there don't get me wrong, some of the glitches are hilarious. Like, it definitely enhances the experience, but a lot of the time it doesn't, and a lot of the time it takes away from the experience. Michelle?
Bugs that enhance the gameplay experience.
Of course, come on. You don't tell me you haven't played a game where it's like sort of glitchy, but it makes it better.
I have a fun story. You're talking about glitches enhancing things? I was playing the Syndicate reboot with a friend of mine, okay? His camera glitched when we revived him. He could only see through my camera perspective. He had to play and the thing is, he kept playing. He was like, no, we're doing this. He played a second-person shooter the entire rest of that round. So yeah, I get what you mean. Literally, there's sometimes a glitch can actually do something amazing.
Yeah. So I'm all for silly, weird glitches.
Yeah.
Where, like a ragdoll where your character goes and its arms and legs go through space and time to another dimension. That's hilarious. The stuff that happens in No Man's Sky, not so much.
And see, the funny, amusing glitches, some of the ones I think of are like Goat Simulator, where
exactly. That's a horrible game, but it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Because I don't know how many times I've launched my goat into orbit and just kind of wonder how I did it, but was amused that it happened. Yeah, no. I suppose ragdoll, but the thing about ragdoll mechanics, like, that's almost to be expected, is it not? So,
oh yeah, but it also
that's
wasn't
intended.
a $60 game.
Right, but yeah. Well, but what I'm getting to is like those when you throw in something like ragdoll physics, like that's something that you're expecting from the game then. Whereas what you're talking about with No Man's Sky, you're saying like I can't imagine some of these glitches were ever intended to be there in any way, shape, or form.
Definitely not.
I felt like
that's why it's like so frustrating.
Yeah, I was gonna say the game, from what I could tell, took itself way too serious, like in that sense, and I couldn't see itself doing that, you know. And the funny thing is, like so back in the day, during one of the previous runs of the Newbcast podcast, I remember that we would live tweet the E3 press conferences. And I did find my tweet where I was like, well, okay, this looks okay, but I have to wait to see more. You know, I wasn't sold on it. And I seem to recall that there was this huge, like, 10-minute video on why you shouldn't believe hype. Because it's so easy to hype up games like No Man's Sky, like Aliens Colonial Marines, or Titanfall, or
Star Wars.
Yeah. Anything like that, right? There's a lot of hype that goes into those games, and then they don't live up to it, and then people get disappointed. Then we get these, or even worse, we get these broken games that come out at launch that you pay full price for, and then they try to fix it, you know, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months later, and it sets a really ugly precedence that they can get away with that.
That's the contradictory thing for me. Is like, I hate when a game comes out and it's just broken. That's what. But there are other cases where it's like they just genuinely didn't figure it out until they had fan feedback. That's the unfortunate thing. Is sometimes you just genuinely need to put it out there. It's just nothing in the business plan accounted for that. They thought that they had it there and then, or were crossing their fingers and hoping, and it wouldn't be until they failed that they're like, oh, we actually should have done this. And instead of just releasing a sequel, they try to fix that original one, and it doesn't really come together. The best example of it actually working for someone would be Compulsion Games with We Happy Few, because the thing is, when it first was in early access, everybody hated it. It was basically Don't Starve, but worse. And
I heard about that.
Whereas now, it's basically BioShock in the 60s, and everybody is loving it. I'm hearing very good things now. They've got 3 different story campaigns and all that. But in that case, they actually intentionally released it in early access to work that stuff out, and they address it as quickly as they could. They didn't wait years. They've been, every couple months, it's been another huge shift, another huge change. They are exploring ways to reincorporate their old ideas in an additional mode, but they recognized what people wanted and needed, and they did it quickly, which is the main issue on the other side of things. Is on one hand, we need people to actually take a game for a second chance, to trust that, you know, no, really, this time it actually is worth your time. Trust us here. The other thing is, the publishers and developers need to recognize you have to jump on this quickly, because you only get one introduction, and the faster you fix things, the more likely people are actually going to take you seriously. The longer it is, the less people are going to show up. Because, like I've said, I still play Battleborn. I love playing through the DLC missions and playing in bot mode, but nobody else is picking that up because it's so late in the game that nobody will believe me when I say, no, really, they fixed it. Because I was one of the people who hated it in beta, but they fixed so much. And it kills me that pretty much, like, you know, maybe 500 people will actually see that.
Yeah. Just for the record, if you guys are interested in We Happy Few, it's actually coming out next month on the 10th.
So on Xbox One, PS4, and PC.
Yeah.
There you go.
I have it marked on my calendar.
I have to get
not anticipating it at all.
No. The worrisome thing is the day before is Monster Hunter World PC release, so I'm like, which game should I be playing?
Well, I feel like that's almost a no-brainer, right? It should totally be Monster Hunter. I mean,
that's a tough one.
Well,
I think Monster Hunter is definitely up there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is there one nice for it?
I enjoy the fact that it doesn't look as. It's got that nice look to that Monster Hunter games that come to the West don't have, right? Like there's a lot of Monster Hunter games that are over in Asia that have the look that the Monster Hunter World has, but they never make it here. It's the more cartoony ones that make it here. The fact that we actually have the one that has the atmosphere the way this one has made it here. Like I want to reward the fact that happened. Like we got that, we got it. So that's why I feel like that would be the better way to go. But I guess I can understand why people would also be looking forward to We Happy Few.
I'm looking forward to both. Both of those games are right up my alley. And Monster Hunter World, all of my friends are going to be playing it. I know all of my friends played it when it came out on console, and I was looking at their it was like the gif of the doctor who he's just standing out in the rain crying.
Yes. Yep.
That's me. That was me. I was like, I wanted to play it so bad.
I want to play with you guys. Can I play with, please? I want to play.
Yeah, I don't have a console, so I couldn't join everybody, and I was a very sad boy.
Yeah. Plus, the whole not buying games full price rule of poverty gaming and all too. Yeah.
I sometimes buy stuff when it's full price.
Oh. Oh.
You can go ahead and do that, and pretty much every time I've done that, it's blown up in my face. The last time being Destiny and launch day.
Octopath.
I got Destiny for like $20 dues, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah,
but I can see why people were not. No, it was like $12 or something. It was Destiny was a
you got it for 12 humble bundle monthly. Yeah.
So I was like, yes.
Oh, you're talking about I was one of the stupid schmucks who got in day one for the first one, and I stupidly thought I was going to have a PS4 by the end of the year, so I got a PS3 digital copy so it would transfer over, and I rented it for PS4.
And you didn't?
No. So I basically ended up with a copy of Destiny 1 and was like, I finished this in a week.
Look at this fanboy over here.
What happened here? What happened here?
Yeah, no. Gosh, Destiny 2, like I got mine for free with my my MOBO. I'm trying to think of the last game I paid full price for. Part of the problem though,
Monster Hunter World.
Get it maybe. I also have a lot of like travel expenses coming up really soon. So
TwitchCon.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no.
Okay, how about instead of the last one you did, the one where you actually didn't regret it?
Octopath.
There you go, Dizza.
Yeah, still don't regret it.
Have you played any more of it?
I have. I've played bits and pieces, just enough to like explore towns and fill through the areas that I didn't play through in the original run.
Go through them?
I haven't gone through all of the story yet, which is a bit of a disappointment.
Okay.
But I think I just need to decide. I want movie night, and that's how it's going to be, because it really will just be watching a whole bunch of cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
And getting caught up on it. But no, I've been very happy with it. I definitely am planning on playing it through again, which is a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one of those games. The one thing that I like about when I buy a game at full price is I'm only doing it because it is at launch and because there's a lot of excitement for it and there isn't a lot of knowledge.
Oh, are you buying into the hype?
It's not even that I'm buying into the hype. I think it's more like being on the cutting edge of something, being in something when nobody really knows what's going on has its own benefit.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the opposite of getting into the hype. It's saying, hey, I know that this hype could be completely fake. There isn't a lot of information here. Let's go see what this does. That can be really fun.
That's why I like playing games that are controversial or had a lot of like bad press around them, like No Man's Sky. That's why I picked it up. I like playing these games that have some kind of controversy over them, just to see what exactly is going on there. Because you read all these stupid magazine, like gaming magazines and stuff, and it's like, so what are you even talking about?
So tell me, Hippo, how was day one Gary's incident?
I never bought that. Thank you very much, and you know I did it. And you know I will never buy that. I will never give them money.
Blades of Time. No, you haven't dared that one.
I'm sorry. No. There's a comment in chat right now. I'm trying to not laugh.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, what was the last game that was at launch? That was like it wasn't even a full price, like $60 game, but it was probably like Sonic Mania was.
I was gonna say Sonic Mania, I think, was it for you.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed that.
It actually did very well for you, didn't it?
Oh yeah, well, God, it was such a fun game. Plus, I mean, way back when.
Back in my day.
Back in your day when you had to be on Channel 3 to get your games to work. I played Sonic. I played Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 2 and Knuckles, and yeah, I played all of those. I loved my Sonic games. So the fact that this was a travel back to those times and those days, it was a great game. It was a lot of fun. I absolutely adored it.
I'm looking at my Steam right now. I got it. The one game that I bought at full price that I didn't regret, RimWorld.
RimWorld. Okay.
That was a freaking forever ago, though.
Yeah, that's legit, though. I mean, because, yeah, if I go through my Steam library, that a full price, like, gosh, it's so hard to tell, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, too.
It's a struggle. Because there's so many games, like, that are, like, I know I paid full price for Guild Wars, which I certainly have enjoyed that quite a bit.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you got your money's worth.
Yeah, I sure did. It looks like Elijah's got show and tell.
Well, it's torn because technically, here's the thing. One of these was not well received, but I did end up getting my money's worth because I made a friend in Australia at the time and we just played the crap out of it. And the other one actually topped The Last of Us for me as my favorite closeout PS3.
Okay.
Both of them I ended up getting it full. It's safe to say I literally like Insomniac's work.
Okay.
But Into the Nexus is actually really good. It's like a swan song to not only the series, but to the PS3 on a whole. Like, it did all sorts of crazy stuff you shouldn't have been able to do. And Fuse, it's not Overstrike. I would have preferred Overstrike, but it still is actually really fun to play because it's an Insomniac thing. So those both, I didn't regret. I almost said Dead Space 3 because I still mostly was okay with it, but there's still a lot of issues with that, and Bioshock Infinite was my biggest blow up in my face. That one actually tops Destiny for me, and just being like, okay, this is not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, kind of looking at my list of games, like any of them that I paid full price for, I haven't. Like, there, not a single one of them that would have been.
I got one.
Another
one.
Go for it.
Jurassic Park. Or not Jurassic World. I paid full price for that.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed that game so much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the one with Jeff Goldblum and its real-time management?
Yes, that one.
I'm very curious about that, because ever since Zoo Tycoon had that dinosaur add-on, I've just been like, why isn't there actually a Jurassic Park game that does this?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what this is. I have 37 hours in it. I pretty much only streamed it. I am not quite through all of the content, but I have to say, as somebody who mained City Skylines and The Sims for building and really enjoyed it, that was like, I love management games too, so that was just like right up my alley for everything. I loved it so much. I might actually stream it again, like maybe 1 or 2 more times, just because I love it that much.
Which is totally fair. That one, yeah, I think if I would have ended up buying it, I would have probably been on board with you on that one.
I mean, you get to run through all of your visitors in a Jeep.
All the more reason to play it. Especially if you ever
I'm
request a
sorry, you run them through with the Jeep?
Yeah, so they're like on a
Experience
walking, they're like on
attached?
a path. They're like on a path, and you just drive in the Jeep in through the crowd, just all the way through it.
So it's actually a stealth sequel to Party Hard.
Yeah, actually, I haven't played Party Hard, but I do have it. I should check that out. I heard it's really good.
Oh dear. Yeah, because I'm trying to think about the games. Like, I know I did like The Crew, and that was new. I didn't pay full price for it, but
I
Jumped
got
in
the
on
Crew
the
too.
Crew.
huh?
You jumped in on the Crew, the racing game by Ubisoft.
Yes. So I traded in some stuff to that one game store that's going out of business that you could probably get $250 for.
The game store that shall not be named.
Yeah. Right.
Volda store.
New Funko Land.
Oh God, I miss Funko Land. No. So I traded stuff in, and they're like, "We'll give you this, but if you reserve a game, we'll give you this." It was like $45 more for the trade-in. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, what? I was looking through the list of things. I'm like, this goes against my policy, but I'm paying so little for whatever game I decide to go with, whatever. And typically, I do enjoy racing games, so like, I'll do The Crew. Why not? That should be fun. No.
Yeah, I still hear good things. This is like, I'm very curious what happened there.
Oh God, that game made me rage so much. I wish Crafty was around. She could tell you about how. Oof.
Wait, the first or the second one?
The first one.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one.
I didn't hear any good things for the first one.
Yeah, like, I swear that Apple Maps was powering its GPS. Huh?
It was the braking you hated.
I also hated the braking. The braking sucked. Like, because I'd play a lot of Need for Speed, so I'd hit e-brakes, or I'd play other games like Burnout, or oh shoot, what was the other one that I know that you were excited for, Elijah? Blur.
Blur.
Yeah.
I'm still looking forward to finally getting stuff.
Yeah. So I had a feel for what e-brake should feel like when you're racing around. Nope. Do this. Full 270 on my turn. Like, that is not what I was trying to do. And that happened more often than I'd want. So I'd, end up facing the wrong direction that I wanted to go. And when I got myself turned around to go the way I wanted to go, because the GPS was telling me to turn left, it told me to turn left through a water treatment center.
I mean, that in some ways, that's a very accurate to what a GPS is like.
I mean, there was that guy who drove into the ocean because his GPS told him to. Or was it a chick? I don't know. It was somewhere in Santa Monica or something.
I seem to recall
I
this.
vaguely
They
remember
were
this.
trying for a Darwin Award.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much.
Well, maybe the bridge will come up. I don't know.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah, it comes out of the ground. It's like the one puzzle in Mass Effect Andromeda. It's-
Yeah, I mean, so because of that was probably one of the last few games that I got new, and it's just because I feel like, again, it's just there's something about it, and of course The Crew had enough hype behind it where it's like, oh, this would be a great new game because of all the features in it, and it really didn't turn out to be that way. I really, really feel like that especially now, you get a lot of developers and publishers that put games out, and they're hoping that either they put it into early access and hope the sales will get them to the finish line, or they're going to launch a game incredibly buggy, which should be in early access, and they hope the sales get them over the finish line. Regardless, they're both really shitty practices to have.
Batman Arkham Knight.
I picked up The Crew too. I enjoyed it. There wasn't any bugs or weird things that happened to me. Although the story, if you can call it a story, it takes itself way too seriously. It's like Fast and the Furious bad. And some people would be like, oh, that's good. And then I would say I don't watch the Fast and the Furious because it's bad. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that.
Wow, really?
I'm sorry. I don't like it.
It's kind of
Look,
the same
you
way
can
I feel
like it.
about
It's
Dying
okay
Light.
that you like a game or a movie that I don't like. It's fine.
What a
It's okay
buster!
to
I
not
don't like
things.
What a buster!
How dare you? Well,
No, God, and we've
So-
been derailed. There we go.
I was just reading
That
an
was easy.
article earlier. I know, right? I was reading an article earlier, and I think this will go pretty well from the segue that we were in, where they were talking about demographics for games, right?
Uh-huh.
Because there's a very clear target for what was going on there. Or I think about like Dying Light. It's like, oh gosh, we're gonna make sure that this is super serious. And a lot of people never really got into those games. One of the big pieces that people come back to when it comes down to like Fortnite, especially versus like PUBG and its popularity, is that it's cartoony, that it's fun, that it's getting a demographic into that genre that normally wouldn't be interested in running around with a shotgun or things like that. And I find it really interesting to consider that. I mean, if Dying Light were more about fun, if we weren't trying to be the Fast and the Furious.
But the thing is, I gotta counter you there because I played Dying Light. The thing is, the main story, yeah, a lot of it kind of sucks, and there are moments where they try to be dramatic and depressing, and it just doesn't work. But there's also
Right.
side stories that do really work, and the developers themselves are very fun-oriented. A lot of the games
They are.
everything else worked. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't call Dying Light a failure, and from what I understand, Dying Light 2 is kind of rolling with the fact that, okay, the seriousness wasn't really working for us. We have to have some sense of continuity, but we're not going to try to stay dedicated to it. And
no.
so I wouldn't call it that a failure. I do agree that things like Fortnite, they're hooking people a lot more in because they're charming. They smile, and people want to smile every now and then. We're in 2018, and you go on Twitter, and it looks like the world's going to turn into an apocalyptic hellscape in any 20 seconds. So someone smiling is nice, but
I don't know if I would think smiling and Fortnite go hand in hand, but
the characters do. Everybody else
Okay,
doesn't,
the
but
characters.
the characters do.
the characters absolutely. The people who play them not so much.
But the same can be said for Overwatch. Overwatch has hooked a lot of people in because of what
Yeah.
Dylan's talking about here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's about the aesthetic and thinking at the end of the day, hey, this is going to be for fun. So it doesn't have to have all of this, super negative detail or background or take itself too seriously.
Well, that's not to
and
say that
oh, please.
No.
I think it's a fair clarification that I don't think Dying Light was a failure at all. I think that its
Okay.
strongest aspects were anything but the story.
Oh yeah, no arguments there, and they basically acknowledge that.
Yeah. So you
So
were about to say.
not to say that games that are serious can't be enjoyable though.
No, there can be games that are serious and totally enjoyable, or if people find fun in some ways or what. I would look at and this is gonna let me go back. This is gonna go way back. We're going like late '90s back.
Okay.
Let's go on this journey.
Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. A lot of people enjoyed it. It was not a smiley game at all. It was dirty, nitty, and gritty. But a lot of people enjoyed it and is arguably the best in the series.
Was that the one where you had to go to a school and like the little kids had giant butcher knives because that's what kids do?
that's Silent Hill. You're thinking of Silent Hill.
Oh, Silent Hill, right?
Yep.
Never mind.
No, RE2 was the one where you had two stories. You had Leon Kennedy and you had Claire Redfield.
I
And
remember.
Scenarios depending upon the story.
yep, so there was two scenarios for each one. There was a scenario A and a scenario B. So if you played like scenario A for Leon, you would then play scenario B for Claire, and the stuff that you did for Leon as Leon should have affected Claire's playthrough. In theory, that's the way it was supposed to work. but it's a great example of a game that is the whole franchise, for that matter, is an example of something that's nitty gritty and it can work and be enjoyable, and people will go back and play it. That said, though, the reason that, fast forwarding back to now, and games like Overwatch and Fortnite and whatnot do better is because the demographic is a larger demographic. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people of all ages want to play Overwatch. If you were to take a bet on if you saw someone playing on a phone or a Switch or whatever playing Fortnite, who do you think it would be? Besides Ninja.
I have a friend
Everyone.
who mains Fortnite, so the demographic is everyone.
Exactly. You can't.
I feel like a larger demographic is younger, between like the ages of like 15 to like 18, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a younger demographic, but that's because the aesthetic allows for it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I played it in beta, like before even the battle royale stuff came out, and I was like, this game is gonna be really good for a while. Like the PvP and stuff, or the PvE, so good. And then like it was just right up my kind of like third person shooter kind of alley, like, you know, tower defense type stuff for the base build, and I was really enjoying it. And then I can't touch that game anymore just because there's so many Fortnite players out there, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that.
But I would also say that there's a flip side to this also, in that the nitty gritty and some serious games that are genuinely not necessarily fun but are engaging is also something we're seeing a lot more of. Like Vampire, while it can be genuinely fun, the story is not made to be happy-go-lucky in any way. It's this very morbid tale. Or Mafia 3. Mafia 3 is this lengthy commentary on racism and everything, and crime drama that isn't happy. And we started to see this around the turn of last gen. Like Lost Planet 3 has an amazingly good, well-told story, and sometimes its gameplay is engaging, but it's never really fun. So that's something else we're also seeing, is that for people who aren't looking for a game to be like that, who are looking for the opposite, we're starting to see that be appealed to more. We're starting to see stuff where it clicks for another audience right there and then.
Yeah. The satisfaction doesn't have to be pure, simple joy. It is the easiest way to get the most people involved. I will say that.
Sure. I feel like okay, so if we're talking about like fun versus like engaging, a great example of that, look at Papers, Please.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah, it is really engaging, and there's an element that you want to play, but would you call it fun though? Like,
I don't think that the core game mechanic takes away from the story. On the contrary, it enhances everything that you're talking about in the storyline development.
Yes.
So you get engaged in what's going on with that because of the story. And that synergy works really well for it. It's certainly not everyone's cup of tea. I think the history behind it is enough to definitely take a segment of people and say, hey, I don't want to be involved in this. But that's not their point. I don't think that's the purpose of the developers making Papers, Please.
Yeah, no. I think there's a level of irony that goes along with the development of it too. And what really sold it for me for Papers, Please was actually it was Convergence. For those that are unfamiliar, it's a sci-fi fantasy gaming plus type convention in the Minneapolis area, and there was a Papers, Please guard cosplayer who set up a booth and he was stamping passports. And
that's awesome.
So I went to get my passport stamped, and he asked why I wanted to visit the country, and I said that I wanted to take pictures of glorious country, and he accused my camera of being contraband and denied me.
Oh. Glory to Arstotzka.
Yeah, but though it was amusing, I had a good laugh at that. Like it it's a satirical like view of some serious things that occurred in our history, right? So it made it no less engaging. I mean, that engagement is why I had to go up and try to get my passport stamped by this person that was playing this card, because I had to try it. I thought if we had more games like that, I think and you're saying Vampire was one that did that, which is great. And I
played the heck out of that game.
Yeah, and I think Elijah did too. Did you not?
Oh, sorry. Just checking the chat.
Vampire, go.
Yeah, I played through that one. I've got a roundtable discussion with some guys from Game Critics that's going up about it, but I highly recommend it. As I said in the roundtable, and I'll say it here because I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to it for YouTube because of regular live stuff. It gets a 10. I was impressed. I kept expecting it to disappoint me, and it never really did. If you do get tired of the combat, there's now going to be a story mode where you can just focus on talking to people, but it's Yakuza meets Sherlock Holmes Crime and Punishments, and it makes it work. And it's got elements of Bloodborne. That's one of the best combinations you could offer anyone. And I mean, you can tell it's middle tier. There's a few cutscenes where it's just static poses moved between, but most of it's actually decently done. And there's a satisfying conclusion. Like, they leave the door open because, I mean, this is Don't Nod. With Remember Me and with Life is Strange, they always like to tease that there's a potential for something more. But it's a nice one and done if you want it that way. The only thing that I've heard that's worrying is that the console version is apparently a lot more constrained than the PC one. On PC, I was able to run it at ultra settings easily, even though I don't have a top-of-the-line rig. But whereas PS4 and Xbox One is capped at 30 FPS and stuff like that, so bear that in mind. But otherwise, it gets morbid right, because the entire inherent mechanic about talking to everybody is, if you want to get the most experience points from a potential target to drain their blood, you have to get to know them. You have to learn their secrets. You have to engage with these people. And then you have to choose, am I worthy of actually taking this person's life? Is it necessary? And there are like 3 to 5 people who are just asking for it. I don't want to spoil it, but like, there's this one minister who is such an ass and stuff like that. And there's a con man and a killer, but...
Look at you doing good in the world by draining them.
Look at you doing good by killing people.
It's like, are you actually doing good or not? And there's a different ending depending on if you choose to suck from no one or if you
I've heard that.
suck from a few people. And it's really clever how they handle that. How your experience points factor into so many different things. It's this very multi-layered, just all these different things coming together. It's very cohesive. Someone figured out a plan. This isn't like with Remember Me, where this is all very neat, but it all feels like different games kind of jammed together. Vampire is just Vampire. That's all it is. It's got its whole decision, and they even make the actual whole, your choices will affect the story, actually matter. Like, there's this one group that you can pair up with, but if you screw them over, they hunt you down. They chase you around the map. There's actual advantages and disadvantages to being good or bad that make you question your moral standing. And it's just so marvelous. And they even did a romantic arc that feels like it was written for adults. It's not the whole Commander Shepard, we talk 3 times, now we'll bang. No.
If only real life like that.
Whereas in this case, you meet this woman and you slowly over time get to know her, and in a very British way, you come to have a very romantic relationship that's poignant, that you can believe it, and the voice actors are in it. They are doing a convincing job.
Yeah, they were good. They were good.
It's what I've been wanting from a modern RPG for so long. It still plays like the action RPGs that I've liked in the past, but it expects me to be okay with things actually being written for an adult. It's not swearing a mile a minute. It's not blood and gore everywhere, despite the fact that there is a fair amount of blood. It still looks more like cranberry sauce.
I always said, like, oh no, somebody spilled red paint all over this wall. Where's the janitor?
But they do such a marvelous job. And even, I don't want to go on for too much longer because I realize I've been rambling, but even on the diversity front, they do a really good job. Like, they have people of color. They have a person who was adopted. They've got interracial relationships. They've got a queer relationship. And the one guy is still coming to grips with the fact that he's gay. They do all of this so well. And on top of all of that, there is a theater joke. There is one of the most elaborate theater jokes possible that you find in the last region. You'll find two guys sitting on a bench, start talking to them, and you should figure out what it is. And it's amazing that they go to that extent, because it basically doubles as a huge theater reference, and they're breaking the fourth wall entirely. And they make it work.
What was with the gang name Wet Boot Boys?
The Wet Boots, I forget. There was something about, well, basically because they're on the docks. From what I understand. That was the
it's just the name of the gang. Just, I couldn't take them seriously. I mean,
my question is, did you kill the first person that the game prompts you to potentially kill?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah, apparently you can actually not do that. I didn't know that. So
yeah, you don't have to, but I did later. I was like, no, you're dead.
Oh, you didn't later? I accidentally did it first thing, because it's like, okay, this is a tutorial. This isn't going to count towards my ending. And it's like, yep, you totally ate that dude. But it evolves properly from it. The character dynamics actually shift, which is another great thing, is that you see like this Shadow of Mordor-y system of everybody interacting with one another based on your choices. Except it's the opposite of Shadow of Mordor, where you want to kill everybody. And this one's like, I don't want to ruin these people's lives. I don't want to be a monster, even though I am.
Although I kind of wanted to just do like eat everybody. I wanted to do everyone playthrough.
You do that? The ending is dark as hell. Like, they do a great job with it, but it is morbid. The ending.
I never finished it.
Let me put it this way. You don't want to get the bad ending, but you want to look it up on YouTube, because it will rip out your heartstrings, especially if you're actually invested in the romantic interest.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
I don't think I even met the romantic interest yet, and I'm 37 hours into the game.
Red-haired vampire lady.
Oh, never mind. Okay, I didn't know that she was a romantic interest. Spoilered! Oh my god.
37 hours in, they do it very Britishly. When she invited you into your house, that's basically her declaring, yeah, we're a thing. In old British times, that is essentially changing your Facebook status to being a couple.
That's an interesting way to put it.
If anyone would do it that way, it would be the British.
Trying to think of other games that are like this, that are that engaging, but and David Cage immediately comes to mind.
David Cage is also extremely problematic.
He is
problematic.
Yeah, you've heard about what's going on with the studio, right? They're going under lawsuits, and the thing is, the employees who left are actually winning. They're finding evidence that they weren't making it up.
Yeah,
I had no idea. I was thinking his storytelling more than
his storytelling problematic too, but the company culture is very not okay. There was an instance of there's a lot of sexism, and there was even a fat shaming thing that happened that was really it was bad.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but maybe I should go read about that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I gotta read up on that a little bit too. It comes to mind because of like Detroit, but since that was his most recent one.
And yeah, I would say with Heavy Rain, he started in a good place. It felt like they were going somewhere, but then they cut out their supernatural element really late in the game. Like, there's levels still in there, so that caused a lot of issues. Plus, I will always agree with Zero Punctuation that it should have been that any of the playable characters was potentially the thing. Because I don't want to spoil it, because they almost spoiled it, but you know what I mean.
Sure. Any other games? Anything else? And on this topic that we want to address and such?
Let me look.
Jeez.
Black Ops 1. Call of Duty Black Ops 1. I would say the Black Ops series. They actually, well, except for Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 was really confusing. But Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 3 were actually trying very hard to tell serious stories that were, like, not jingoistic. They weren't interested in being America. Well, Black Ops 1 in the last 20 minutes. But besides that, they actually were a lot more about paranoia is a bad thing. Like, being the thing that everybody is, the sort of person you expect playing Call of Duty, the stereotype of, you know, the guy who's got the shotgun and, you know, very redneck, yeah, I like my Call of Duty. Yeah, no, it's basically saying you should not be paranoid. You should not be freaked out. You shouldn't be buying into conspiracies, because once we start acting on stuff like that, we start making bad decisions and everything just keeps getting worse. And then Black Ops 3 was like that, but for the modern era. And as Diz already knows, I am the Black Ops 3 evangelist. And Mitch knows this as well.
I'm also aware of this. So.
I just like zombies.
I'm sorry. After Black Ops 2 and the incident the Newbcast had with that, nope.
Well, I don't like Black Ops. Black Ops 2 is bad. It had a good idea, but it is bad.
Dizzy knows what I'm talking about, though. Yep. Flashbacks.
You win some, you lose some.
All right. So segue. Talking about things. You like that? There was a little talk about the Escapist.
Yeah,
did you want to talk about it now, or did you want to wait for the after the break?
We're just going through it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's run.
Do you want to set the table?
Well, who put the topic in?
Me.
Then you set the table.
Okay, so The Escapist used to be, like, it was actually a really big up-and-coming website. Back in, like, 2013, speaking personally, it was actually the site I frequented the most. It was really big. It's where Movie Bob, Zero Punctuation, Loading Ready Run, all these big content. Jim Sterling, that's where the Jimquisition was born. All of this stuff just kind of came out of the woodwork because that miracle of sound. So many content creators that you can now find all sorts of other places. And the reason they ended up moving away was because the owning company was not being very kind to the people in charge. So The Escapist got to the point where it was like one of those lower tier news sites. It was volunteer only. The only person being paid was Yahtzee Grosjean. He was the only content creator left. The moderators were basically running things. And despite the fact that the website claimed that it wasn't very political, there were a lot of very politically charged groups in the forums.
Sure.
And that's unfortunately where the story is picking up with Russ Pitts, the former editor-in-chief, coming back to things. He apparently is trying to be a completely neutral with the site, which is raising a lot of eyebrows. He's bringing back a lot of the content creators. They're supposed to be talking at PAX. They're supposed to be bringing everybody back in. They showed Loading Ready Run. They showed Croshaw. I think there was even the possibility of Jim Sterling being there, potentially. I don't know. But the thing is, it's like, yay! The Escapist could potentially be back. And it's apparently going to be owned now by a company that's way better about it. But also, a game website trying to pretend that you can just not be political about games, especially in 2018, feels kind of intensely tone deaf. And unfortunately, Russ Pitts, as much as he did a stellar job as editor-in-chief, he's come into controversy sometimes. Like, he had a book about being a game journalist, and yeah, there were a lot of divisive opinions about that. So it's like, you want to be excited, but there's a lot of baggage in this case. There's a lot of, like, can a gaming website like this really bounce back, and can it do it the way it's hoping to do it?
If I recall correctly, too, didn't the forum community also, wasn't it the home to a lot of people that were part of Gamergate?
At a time, the problem was The Escapists tried to be, back when that first happened, they, like, tried to talk, like, they did an interview with a developer who was in favor of Gamergate and stuff like that. It was right back when there were still people who were on the fence and who were like, maybe there's actually a conversation to have here, and nobody had figured out that, oh no, this is just turning into a huge hate group mob, and that's all it's going to be. And unfortunately, The Escapist has just always been, ever since, kind of marred by that. And the thing is, zero punctuation memes are even used by those kinds of people still, because just he's snarky and he doesn't really worry about what he says about anything. So that's what they're looking for. So yeah, but like I said, there's just so much baggage, which is a shame, because there was a time when, like, I mean, Hippo, you're talking about being tired of websites all saying the same damn thing. The Escapist was the only website I knew where Spec Ops: The Line got Game of the Year. They gave Spec Ops: The Line Game of the Year, not some other game that was just generic as all hell. They went for stuff that was actually creatively interesting.
Sure.
I still love the Susan Ardent's review for X-Men Destiny she did on there. I will link it to you guys because it is hilarious. They were forthright, they were open, they were honest, and how the hell do you do that while staying politically neutral in this day and age? How are you supposed to do that?
It's difficult to. I mean, especially when you got a lot of games that have a commentary on the fact too. You know,
Papers, Please.
Papers, Please is a great example. Yeah. Wolfenstein's another great example. Like,
although that one's pretty universally like, okay, I think we're okay, guys.
Right. Well, you would think, but I digress.
I stayed away from any of like the controversy that was happening. Like, I purposely was ignorant to all of it because I had seen kind of what was happening with all the drama and stuff, and I'm getting old. I don't care.
Don't tell Hippo that you can see his gray hairs sticking through. Yeah.
Exactly. No, you know what? It's true. I don't got enough time to worry about that kind of stuff. Like, yes, I agree that there's issues in the gaming industry and that they do need to change. However, what am I gonna do? You know, like, I can only do so much.
Well,
and there's other things that I need to be worried about, like, you know, paying rent.
Sure.
Instead of being outraged about everything.
Sure. Well, you know, in the way of talking about, like, there are constructive ways to talk about, like, that. I feel like, okay, first off, let's keep this from going down a rabbit hole, because I feel like talking about, like, issues that we see with individuals or even some possible troublemaking sites or the changes to sites, like, let's go back to the idea of what we're seeing with The Escapist, and this idea that they want to try to do a no politic type. There's ways to talk about politics without saying that this is the way that it should be and whatnot. You can observe something that's being done in a game that has a political commentary to it and address it and say it exists, right? Yeah. You can report on it, you know, and you know, that's kind of what a journalist does. Like, a journalist will report, and they don't always have to give side A, side B. They'll give you the facts, right? The facts are X game has political commentary.
It's a difficult situation to navigate, because I think even bringing something to light, the ability to pay attention to something and say, hey, X thing is a political thing, and choosing what things are presented that way and what aren't, is political in its own right. I don't think you have a way to avoid it, though.
No,
legitimately, because there's no way to avoid it, then you say, what common reasonable grounds can you take in context to minimize the politicism of it, and bring it more to focus to what they want to do.
I think the problem is that it's not people. They take a hobby like gaming or whatever, and they make it them. They are games, right? They're their favorite games. So when you do come up with like a legitimate criticism of said game, or be it whatever else in the world, instead of it just being a thought or a criticism, they take it as a personal attack, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's the problem with it, is that you say something like that's maybe not what they believe, or they whatever. There's not enough FOV sliders in game. Boom! Now you've made FOV sliders are your that's your thing, right? That's what you love for whatever reason. If somebody criticizes that, they're not criticizing FOVs, they're criticizing you, and that's a personal attack, and that's a problem.
Well, see, what you're talking about there is the classic fanboy issue.
Well,
Right?
yeah, well, like all the nostalgia that's going on in this industry, there's so many people who still just, right now, the industry is still so young that we've made leaps and bounds, and people are still going to insist that the thing from the 80s is still top of the line and stuff like that. There's just, no one is willing to accept that maybe, just maybe, their memories aren't perfect.
Well, see, if nostalgia served to be the judge, jury, and executioner in games, then EverQuest or WoW would be the best MMOs ever. StarCraft.
At the time, they were pretty good.
They were, but they're better than anything that's on the market now. Brood Wars is the best RTS ever.
The thing is, I encounter people who are like that on my channel. I was talking with Hippo about this. I mean, obscure PSP games, there's hundreds of people who are annoyed if I don't think that it's amazing. I got a complaint for giving a negative score for one of the DLCs for Aliens Colonial Marines. Someone seriously came out of the woodwork and was upset that I gave a negative review score to something associated with Aliens Colonial Marines. Never mind that I'm actually one of the nicer critics to it. They still were pissed.
I mean, I get it. I mean, I will take personal offense if you give a negative critique of Patapon, because that was the best game ever in the history of the universe.
Lucky for you, I don't have access to that one right now.
How
You'll put a
dare
negative
you?
review just to make sure that I'm offended.
How dare you dislike something I like? How dare you have that audacity to do that?
How dare you have opinions?
Right.
How dare you have opinions?
Right. It's amazing how often people will. Yeah, you're right. You know, and that's straight out as fanboyism. It's amazing how people cannot take this look at anything with it, step back and go, I disagree with this,
and that's okay.
Yeah, you know, some of my favorite creators I don't always agree with, right? And I'm not talking just game creators, I'm talking creators in general. I don't agree with everything.
Yeah,
but I can step back and go, I don't agree with that. However, that is an interesting way of phrasing something or putting that out into the world. I think that's how, you know, I am able to get it into. Well, that's how I was able to say with TB, and it's how I was able to. It's how I can watch DeFranco and not get upset with him. It's how, you know, just any of these names that make content out there that they put their opinions out into the world, and you can the fact that there's a couple of people that have to go, you can disagree with me, you can have your opinion, but you got to have some facts around what you're also basing your opinion on, right?
Oh, yeah, that's.
Welcome back to the Newbcast Podcast.
Hello, welcome back.
I just really want to listen to the music finish out too, because I'm that type of person.
No, it's fine. It's a good thing that you didn't come back to what we were doing.
That makes it sound so much worse than what we were actually doing.
Yeah.
So it sounded like we were running some underground poker ring or something.
How lewd.
Maybe we were all naked and we just put our clothes on very quickly before she came back. Silence, you guys' faces.
Wow.
I love it. I don't know about you, but I'm naked from, you know, the waist down, so that's how I do all my streams.
There's a webcam
It's the
on.
best
I
way,
always have
especially-
an answer. There's a webcam on.
Well, especially when the room gets so warm, you have the computer that's...
Exactly.
You know, yeah.
My computer's right here. It's blowing heat directly into my face.
Oh, I can see your green screen. It's got waves.
Yeah, that's my fan. It's actually a GIF of a green screen.
That you proceeded to place as a green screen.
Exactly. The thing is, Elijah, you don't have a green screen, and so you're the only one that doesn't have one. So I think that we should proceed to green screen. We should green screen shame you for not having a green screen. How dare you be? You had to be that guy, didn't you?
I mean, in fairness, if he had a green screen right now, we would have an amazing Technicolor Stormtrooper.
Yeah, he would be looking freaky about now.
Probably.
I'm gonna be. We're done when we're towards the end here. I actually have something to say in regards to the various Dark Trooper, Death Trooper things, but not till then. Anyway, yes.
I thought you were gonna say, how dare you green screen shame me?
I mean, that may also be a part of that conversation. We'll find out later.
I live in a family that talks like a Joss Whedon story. I'm used to everybody getting slammed. There's a reason I make puns on a daily basis.
There shall be a flogging. Okay, prepare for the flogging.
Shut up, Wesley.
Oh wow. Anyway, sorry.
Yes, I went
Hi,
there.
guys, I'm back.
Yep, went there. So where did we leave off? We were talking about how you should be able to observe things and whatnot. Did we beat Mr. Ed to death there? Did we beat that dead horse?
His eyes twitching, but that's about it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's singing Day.
So let's talk about the fun topic then. The games that made us. What are some of the games that were like a foundation that inspired you to do more within this entire industry?
Dead Space 2, Dead Space 2, Dead Space 2. Oh, also Bioshock 2, but Dead Space 2, Dead Space 2, Dead Space 2. And also Knights of the Republic 2, but Dead Space 2, Dead Space 2, Dead Space 2.
It's a long list.
Which one? Which one again? I didn't quite get it the first 15 times.
Yeah.
I have over 150 hours logged in, and I can still replay it like it's first time. It ruined other games for me. I personally attributed it to why I can't stand Naughty Dog games, because after that, it's like there's so much more you can do with this. There's so much more you can do with a third-person game, and so many other things. I really miss visceral games. Now I'm sad. But Dead Space 2.
So clearly it's Dead Space 2.
I would say like the first game that I ever really streamed and enjoyed playing, and which kind of like inspired me. I saw other people playing and I was like, I got to do this. Was War Thunder, actually. I was actually a very good pilot, and it was a thing that I really enjoyed doing. And back then I had, for the past, I would say 8 years or so, I've been watching YouTube and more recently, live streams and stuff like that. So I was very interested in playing games, and every kid has that dream of you wanna make a living out of playing video games. And for a while I had dreams of grandeur or whatever, I wanted to be a professional anything player, and I was never good at any of that stuff. And then I got to War Thunder, and I don't know if people were bad or I was just good or what was going on, but I started doing very well in it, and a friend started streaming, and I had streamed like in 2008 like 5 or 6 times, and he was doing pretty well at it, and so I decided I was going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy him, and I'm going to be better than him, and I was better than him.
Crushed your friend.
I did. I crushed my friend, who is like a very good friend of mine.
So modest.
And yes, I was very good at it. I mean, nowadays I haven't played. I have so many hours in War Thunder. I started playing War Thunder before it was even on Steam.
Okay.
So like just flying planes and shooting people down was just the best thing that I could do. And then I found The Witcher, and everything changed. And instead of playing crazy combat war games, I played The Witcher like crazy, and that led me to Stardew. Stardew was like the
That's
game.
an interesting jump.
Isn't it
Right?
though?
It is a huge
lot
thing,
of
right?
transition.
Stardew was the game that changed my whole streaming perspective, because until then I had played pretty much like very fast-paced, very hardcore games like PvP and stuff like that. And then I got to Stardew and I was like, wait, this is so much better. I can just relax, play the game, hang out with people. This is what I love doing. This is what I want to do. So and ever since then, which was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, that's when I changed up everything, and it's been great since. So
So War Thunder.
yes, War Thunder was like the first game that I streamed, and I mained that game.
You mained it?
I mained it. That's all I streamed.
I just keep it's sounding brutal here. And, is it like the intro to Conan the Barbarian? You're on top of a bloody throne.
It depends. If you consider like you are in a plane with roughly the same kind of stats as other people do, or the other people have, and you are literally trying to prove that you are better than that person, and you know how to do things better than they do, that's all it is. I mean, that's what every PvP game pretty much is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
War Thunder is like, I don't know, it's that like, I'm flying a plane and I'm going to shoot you down unless you shoot me down, and you have to stop me. And you have other people who can work with you. So you would have a squadron, and it was literally your squadron versus another, and whoever survived was the better, and that was it. That's what I loved so much about it. And I had hundreds of hours in that game, hundreds of dollars thrown at that game. I even modded the game, which I didn't even know you could do until like near the end of when I was playing the game. It's just like modding textures and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all client side.
Can I add one last thing? And it's not Dead Space related.
No, you can't. No. How dare you? How dare you have opinions and thoughts that are your own?
We'll say Knights of the Republic 2 is pretty much responsible for me actively pursuing being a writer and wanting to do games writing, and also pretty much cemented me why I did like Star Wars and what I didn't like about it, because that game was just so much its own thing, but used the IP so well. And I tried replaying the first one. Like I said, I could not get into it. I started the second one. It instantly feels like you're actually in a D&D session. It's just virtually simulated. It does so many things right to this day, and with the mods that fix all the broken issues, because LucasArts stupidly made Obsidian do it in a year, which who thought that was a good idea? But it's so smart. It's one of the smartest written games that I've ever experienced, and it's one of the ones that you kind of need to experience. Even if you hate Star Wars as an IP, you'll still find something to like in it, because it takes the stuffing out of a lot of the tropes, and it really made me rethink things. It got me thinking about morality and consequence at a very early age, because, I mean, when you're a teenager, you're not expecting games to really be making you think about this heavy stuff, and this game is just, it's like suddenly being thrown into a discussion with a philosophy major, and there's also combat and droids and everything and swashbuckling, so you get in for that stuff, and then it's like, whoa.
I see.
You know what? Metal Gear was the first game that made me think, oh my god, a game can make you feel things. What?
I'm assuming by Metal Gear, of course, is Metal Gear Solid.
Yes.
Okay.
The first one that was on the PlayStation. There was a
Not
few
on the
before.
NES?
Right. There were a few before, but it was like the first one on the PlayStation. And that game.
Yeah. No, that was probably one of my games too. MGS was amazing. The story was so intense. I remember the first time facing up against Psycho Mantis, and then of course the whole how do you deal with Meryl, and or
Sniper Wolf.
Yes. Oh God, Sniper Wolf. Yes. But that's just, I don't know. There's that.
That was my introduction to Kojima too.
Was it?
Yeah. I was like, my heart, Sniper Wolf, no, don't die.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm a long shot though. No, please. Please.
Oh gosh, yeah. There was that, and of course, at the same time, right around the same era, we had Eris's death. That really had that same impact of my heart. God, that hurt. That hurt so much.
I feel very young right now because I did not grow up with either of these. I'm just finally getting to Metal Gear Solid 1 soon.
It's funny because you play like all these games that I've never played before. So I love that you have a completely different perspective. It's great.
I grew up in a household that refused consoles. My dad every now and then like, you can get a PS2, and I was like, no, he plays enough on the computer as is. And
I only had consoles, so
yeah.
I didn't even have my own computer until 2006.
Ooh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a game changer, I have to say.
Womp.
Actually, that
You're welcome.
I have one that's from that era, but was PC exclusive. There was a PS1 game, but wasn't it? Lego Rock Raiders. Imagine a management sim. I understand this was made by like about as many people as No Man's Sky was made by. You could fit them all in a garage. It was a tie into the Lego Rock Raiders thing, and Dungeon Keeper, a management sim, vehicle sequences, combat, tower defense elements, survival elements. Like sometimes you'd have an oxygen gauge even. It just had so much packed in. It was so flexible that it's actually kind of jarring going to games where it's like, wait, you don't do all these things? Because this one makes you do all sorts of stuff. I'm having to mine this wall. There's a rock monster trying to eat my power generator, and there's a slug that keeps stealing my crystals.
I can do just one thing. This is crazy.
Yeah, and like no one knows about it. IGN dissed it as being boring. There's a level where you have to outrun a lava flow in a management game, and it works. There's actual tension. Name another management game that did that.
Don't get me started on IGN and Game Critic magazine things.
Well, there's a reason why we might be doing some of the stuff that we're doing nowadays.
Yeah, right. What else was on it? The original Final Fantasy is one. I remember my first gaming website that I did any writing for or any journalistic work for. They wanted an example of what I could do, and I did a rose-tinted glasses review of the original Final Fantasy on NES. And I wanted that ever since the Nintendo Power magazine did its special issue, and the whole magazine was dedicated to the game. And I cannot tell you how many times I played through that, knew the secrets that existed in it. I knew about the Dragon Quest Easter egg / Link Easter egg, depending which version you play. I know about some of the other references that exist. The Power Peninsula, or there were so many things. The context to D&D. There's a lot of stuff that Final Fantasy did that was actually based off D&D, including one of the final bosses, Tiamat. The multi-headed dragon. That is a direct dungeon D&D Dungeons and Dragons dragon. Like, you can go find Tiamat for D&D campaigns to be on the table. But with all the hours and all, I own so many of the remakes of that game, but it's what got me to do the writing for. I wrote for 01gaming.com, Newbcast Gaming when we were a gaming news site. So that one had a huge impact. Metal Gear, Final Fantasy VII. Another one that really taught me that there's more to games than just the gameplay was Ace Combat 4.
That's an interesting one.
Right.
All right.
So the reason that this game taught me that is when you think Ace Combat, you think you're a pilot, you are flying planes, and you're trying to blow stuff up. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair.
Oh, in between the missions, there was a narration of the war and what it was having, the impact it was having on civilians in the country that your pilot was from, and you got to see that whole story and how they were worried for the well-being and the way of their way of life, and how this solo pilot was able to turn everything around for them, and the celebration and joy that they had when he was able to rise up against this tyrant army, this invading army, and eliminate their weapons, and had led to the army on the ground be able to go in and arrest these officers and end the war. I thought that was really cool. It really made me. Of course, this is probably right around the senior year in high school, and it really gave me the chance to learn that, no matter the game, there can be a story there, and there can be a lot going on in the game besides what you're directly doing. Your direct interaction is the direct story. You can learn there's a lot more going on in a game. And then the other game, and this is, I poked fun at it, but Dizzy, you're gonna agree with me on this one, I suspect, because we're here because of it.
Oh yeah.
World of Warcraft.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
World of Warcraft.
WoW has amazing writing, though.
It does. Well, okay, so there's gonna be people that say that there's a direct ripoff of Warhammer, which, whatever. There's a lot of things that they did with Warcraft 3 and going into World of Warcraft where there was a lot of great writing, right? There's a lot of characters that you can invest yourself into and care about. There were a lot of those characters, and they did such a great job, and you wanted to see what happened. You wanted to see what happened to Illidan Stormrage. You wanted to see what happened to Arthas Menethil, the Lich King. And it was a game that a lot of people launched pad themselves off of to become content creators. This, I know Hippo's heard this once before, but gotta remember, this podcast, when it started back in 2011, was a WoW podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are
and
here
there are so many,
because of that.
There are so many different aspects of World of Warcraft as well. Like, not only do you have the storyline element of it, but you have the heavy-duty raiding aspect of it, and learning how to do those things, and learning how to do them with a group. Oh, and by the way, you're going to be working with a group of people, so you're going to be communicating with them. Mm-hmm. So you've suddenly developed this network when you might have been playing a whole bunch of single-player games beforehand. That's me.
Yep. And that's a game that has had an impact on so many people. There are kids.
Yeah, I would say it changed the industry a bit.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
And more. There are kids that are going into high school now that are there because of World of Warcraft. Right? I have shot.
Oh gosh.
I have shot more than one wedding as a photographer, and when they start talking about the story of how they met in WoW. Even other people that we know. Huh?
There's even therapists. There are actually trained therapists who have set up shop in WoW. They do therapy there because they actually have an easier time reaching their clients.
Oh wow!
I was not aware of this.
Yeah, this is a thing. It's not a huge thing, but it's a thing.
I mean, I met a girl in Terra Online. We dated for like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it wasn't for that game, just randomly running into this random person, I never would have had those experiences. And Yeah. So the games have like a significant impact on people.
And you get the people that you. One of my best friends. She was one of my bridesmaids. I met in WoW. You know. So I would say that it's very easy to say that that is a game, or any MMO for that matter. Any MMO has that ability to be that influence because of how much impact it has on your life and the people that you meet from it too.
I met you through WoW, or not WoW, Overwatch, and that's the only reason why I'm here today. It's because I met you through Overwatch, and now I know all of you guys.
Yep. Yep. Gosh, I think WoW is my so that's my list. Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, Ace Combat 4, and World of Warcraft. Those are my games. Those are the ones that were the inspirations, the life changers, and like how I viewed this hobby and more to what it is now.
Yeah. I would say for myself, I was going to just boil it down to 2 games, and unfortunately you've referred to both already. World of Warcraft definitely is a huge perspective changer for me, because beforehand it really was, hey, I'm in the game, I'm doing the things, I'm enjoying the story. It was pretty much just for me. And then World of Warcraft really opened me up to the idea that I could do this and also do things that are a benefit to other people. I might give Ragnarok Online a quick shout out because that was definitely my first MMO.
Okay.
And I did run a guild at one point there. And enjoyed it as well. But I think in World of Warcraft, it's a big difference between that and Ragnarok Online. Ragnarok Online, when you were playing around with the group, it was, hey, we're doing this thing, let's all hang out together. Whereas World of Warcraft, the level of coordination, the level of detail, the amount of potential drama that goes along with that, made it so that you had to do very specific things and had to grow in very specific ways. And I think that's where I got a lot of development on how I communicate with people, even in general, like outside of this format. Being able to be like, hey, here's the reasonability of what you want to do, which is then getting that loot, and now might be, work-related things. Stuff like that. But you learn a lot of that from there, and that was interesting. And I also started to see how people could broadcast that material or create interesting information that could be digested at that point. People giving advice on how to do certain raid bosses and things like that. I remember a couple of people that I followed religiously to see immediately after new content came out how they were going to go and succeed in their boss runs, and mostly copy their stuff from my guild. But that was really cool. And then I think I go back to like Final Fantasy, especially Final Fantasy VII, where I know a lot of detail about the game, where I have kind of a specialized knowledge of it, and a lot of really cool experiences to share just about, like when I was first playing it, what was going on in my life. That was the first time that I realized that deserts would inherently make me sleepy whenever I play through one. And I know exactly why and things from that, but being able to share those stories is something that's unique, and that gave me a reason to start broadcasting. Is they're really cool bits of knowledge that would be interesting for other people to check out, and also have that little nostalgia trip with. I think from there I've come to explore other things, tried some stuff that is newer that people aren't going to have the nostalgia trip for because it's interesting material, but it's more about being able to have that shared experience. And it's so cool that we can do it with so many different games now, that it isn't just an MMO in order to do that. And it's not just everybody coming in at the same time all the time now, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because goodness knows, trying to schedule 25 people to be in the same place on any given evening was the easiest thing to do ever.
I mean, there's a reason why Michelle plans at least 2 weeks in advance for these podcasts.
Some days, yeah. Some weeks. Some weeks.
Sometimes. Hey, two days before. What?
It helps having the right people, though. With
Definitely.
the right people, you can do things a little.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah. With the question of you guys too. So,
Oh yeah. So when is Elijah and myself supposed to fight to the death?
we can do it right now. Round
okay.
one.
Hold on. Let me get out this.
Somebody's been preparing. Wow.
I got lucky. It was a yard sale.
It's okay. I got 2 guns right here.
So, to put it out there, when we launched, we had an individual who joined us. He was a member of the podcast, the Newbcast Podcast previously. He has decided to step away and not do it. These two gentlemen, have really contributed a lot to the shows that they were on, which is why they were asked back again. So Hipponanymous and the Unabridged Gamer will be rotating pillars of the show. So one of the two will always be here along with Dizzy and myself going forward. So for your willingness to take that on, thank you so much for that.
Wait, I thought we were going to appreciate one and kill the other. What's going on? We had a plan.
Well, because Twitch doesn't allow violence, we have to. Well, we're gonna do kind of like the Logan Paul KSI thing, so we're gonna put it on YouTube.
Okay.
It can be pay-per-view and everything then.
Yeah, the Monka TOS. That's all I have to say.
Yep. Proceeds will go to improve the podcast. No big deal.
Oh, one more green screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it depends on if I win. We don't need to buy a green screen.
Hey, then we can put it towards, I don't know, getting No Man's Sky for anybody who doesn't have it yet.
Yeah.
There you go.
We could totally do that.
I
So we
suppose.
can totally enjoy it a ton and check out all of those awesome glitches.
Oh dear. That said,
I'm sure there's going to be some things that'll be fixed.
right.
I hope.
Some things.
I hope.
One day.
So I think, guys, that we are getting to the point in the show. Oh, before we go, I do have to show this off to you guys because I'm excited.
Oh, nice! You got your card.
Oh,
I got my card.
so fancy.
I know. I'm so excited.
I gotta do that still.
Now we can do this. We are at the point of the show where I think we get to plug ourselves and talk about what we're doing, what's coming up,
It's different.
etc. Let's start with you, Elijah. What do you got coming up? What's going on in your world?
Well, obviously you're gonna be able to find me here now. You can follow me on Twitter at ParadigmFallen. Ironically, actually, for the immediate future, I'm going to be on hiatus because my life is a spiraling ball of confusion. And that's making content production a little bit difficult. You can find me contributing articles and reviews and interviews on Appalicious, where we cover mobile coverage, and I'm actually very happy with the work we're doing there. It's done some neat stuff, and you heard I'm going to be doing even some weird dead games even there. Unabridged Gamer will be coming back, and it's not that I've stopped working on things, it's just that I can't keep a consistent production schedule right now. So instead, I'm going to get stuff done, and it's going to be backlogged and ready so that when I come back, we don't have another break like this where there's nothing flowing. So it's good. It will actually have payoff. It's just that for like the next month or two, it's going to be pretty quiet. If I can, I'll have at least So I Just Played. But yeah, at Paradigm Fallen on Twitter and Unabridged Gamer on YouTube and this staffed face here on the podcast.
Cool. Hippo, what do you got coming up on your channel?
I had a very, very rough week last week, so I'm gonna be taking it easy this week. So we're gonna be only doing 3 streams, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Gonna do some Sims, and I was thinking a nice little throwback to FTL.
Okay.
And then there's a couple of things I don't really quite want to say just yet because I'm not sure if it'll happen or not. So we'll see with that. But yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific on right there on Twitch.
Okay. Doom. Thank you, Dizza. Dizza, what's coming up on your channel?
Good question. Since Octopath Traveler, there hasn't been a lot of activity. Tomorrow, we will do a little bit of streaming of Octopath and just kind of chat and chill and hang out and decide what we want to do. There are a couple of games that are still on the short list. I definitely know that Secret of Mana is there, as well as continuing through all of the horribleness that has been Darkest Dungeon. I swear I didn't kill the entire party. It was not my fault.
I love
It
that
just
game. It's
happened
such a
that
good game.
way.
Uh-huh.
It was just the way that it needed to happen. But if you want more updates on anything past tomorrow, please check me out on Twitter. I'm DizG there. I'm DizG pretty much anywhere in humanity. You can also find me on Steam that way. Pro tip. If you're curious what I've been playing, especially during the off hours, that's where to find me.
Oh dear.
Side note / I should have plugged hippo.wtf. That's my website. You'll find literally everything you could possibly want on that site. You know, social media, information about the community, all that good stuff.
Cool.
Also, I forgot to say that I actually am experimenting with streaming. I had an almost successful test with Fear 2, so I might be streaming some stuff in the near future. Some people have been encouraging me to take my ranting and apply it online, especially when I have vodka, because apparently I'm very funny when I'm angry and have vodka. So we might see me playing some really bad games in the near future, and we're going to try to have fun with it.
Fair enough.
Probably starting with Fear 2, because Fear 2 is not good. It's not.
Let the hate flow through you.
Yes, yes. All right. I suppose it's my turn, right?
Yeah,
What are you doing, Michelle?
Well, I know that there will be a little bit of some Guild Wars on Guild Wars Tuesday. We still have the Festival of the Four Winds going on, as well as the Crown Pavilion, which, if you guys are unfamiliar, these are events that occurred during the core game / Living World Season 1. This is some older stuff, but it was some of the most popular events that occurred in the game. So we're gonna do that. I usually am joined by Hippo for that as well, and or more. There could be some fractals and whatnot in there too. I'm trying to decide.
Fractals are fun.
Hey, you did all right. You did all right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide I want to do Planet Coaster on stream or not.
You should.
I've
It's such a fun game.
been trying it out.
Coasters are fun.
I've had a harder time with it than some others, and I don't know why, but I have.
That's another thing we'll be playing this week too.
There you go.
You should definitely do it.
The other one I'm thinking about checking out on stream is just Sounds and Beats, or is it Shapes and Beats? Just Shapes and Beats. Yes, that one. Just Shapes and Beats.
What even is that?
It has shapes and
beats.
Thank you.
Are we
It's not
talking?
sounds
Are we
and
talking like
shapes.
music beats, or are we talking like?
Are you
vegetable
dropping
beats?
fat beats, or are you dropping like? bean
Yes.
juice?
Yes.
Can we have both?
Sure.
I would love some beet juice with some fat.
Oh, that looks pretty.
Uh-huh.
Wait, I think I have it.
That looks very pretty.
There you go. They're dropping fat beats. in
Oh
chat.
yeah.
But besides that, you can find me on the social networks. Instagram is Miss Michelle Jean. On Twitter is Miss Michelle Jean. You're already on my channel, so I don't have to tell you where to go for that. Thankfully. Yeah. So that's what's going on there. I think we're good. Again, I want to thank you guys again for stepping up and being our rotating pillar.
Always fun.
It is most appreciated. So I look forward to seeing what conversations look like in 2 weeks when the Newbcast returns.
Stronger, faster, bionically enhanced.
I love it. All right,
more
guys.
musical, more beatly.
For Hipponanymous, the Unabridged Gamer, and for Dizzy, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Miss Micheljean. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Farewell.